Raiders on the roster bubble. The Raiders have been playing hella good. So this is what I wanted to do for this show. I got 6 players who need to step up and play well in the preseason Week 3 game versus the Green Bay Packers because it's known as the dress rehearsal game. So I got 6 players, and what I want you to do the entire time I'm doing this is basically tell me whether or not that player is going to make the team or if he's going to be on the outside looking in. The first player I got to talk about, I mean, come on, it has to be Keelan Doss. Right now, there is not a single player that I get more questions on than Keelan Doss. We know that he's a solid route runner, and he has a very high football IQ. Gruden has even said that multiple times. Now, he is also bigger than your typical slot wide receiver. Now, one of the reasons why he's a fan favorite is because some of the production that he put on at UC Davis. So, in 2018, 118 catches, 1,334 yards, 9 touchdowns. Pretty good, right? Well, his 2017 year, I would argue, might have been a little bit better. 115 catches, 1,499 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Keelan Doss was really good in 2017. Really good in 2018. And then his first preseason game against the... Is he going to make the team? I want you to type Y for yes or type N for no. And yes, I know I got the games mixed up. I apologize. Week 1 versus the Rams was 2 catches, 9 yards, and a touchdown. Week 2 against the Cardinals was 5 catches for 38 yards and 0 touchdowns. So will Keelan Doss make the team? I want you guys to type Y for yes and for no. Right now, I would have to say about 90% of the people, 95% of the people on YouTube are saying yes. And then let me go to Facebook real quick. Jesse says yes. Scott says yes. Danny Easton, I see you. Billy Smith Jr. says yes. Scott says no. Chad says no. And then Chad also just says someone. So YouTube, Facebook, make sure you guys continue to interact with me live here on the Raiders Report. The next player that's on the roster bubble, it's Marcell Ateman. Now, I like Marcell Ateman. He's a solid receiver, and he made his NFL debut last year in Week 11 because Jordy Nelson had to basically step up. The Raiders, they traded Amari Cooper. Brandon LaFell went down. A lot of different moving parts. And yes, I also think he did a solid job as the Raiders' wide receiver, too, late in the season. He's a little bit bigger of a receiver, and we saw that earlier this preseason when he went up and skied that ball Week 1 and pulled down that 19-yard catch. Here's the thing, though. If I'm the Raiders, I'm keeping either Marcell Ateman or I'm keeping Keelan Doss. So what I wanted you guys to see here is the 2019 preseason stats. Keelan Doss has got 7 catches to Ateman's 2. The yards are in favor of Doss, but the yards per catch is greatly in favor of Ateman. Now, the other thing with the Doss has a 3-yard touchdown catch, which is the 1 touchdown there, so that's also going to impact your yards per catch. So you're looking at the 2019 preseason stats of Keelan Doss and Marcell Ateman. But then when you look at the Raiders wide receiver official depth chart, Marcell Ateman is a much higher than Keelan Doss. So Keelan Doss, since our graphic only shows 3, is actually below Hatcher and Harris. But just because it's the depth chart, that doesn't mean it's locked in stone, right? I think if the Raiders are really looking for upside, you go with Keelan Doss. If you want to go with a player who I think might be a little bit safer this year, you go with Marcell Ateman. So I want everyone to answer this question because I think it's important. Who's the better wide receiver for the Raiders? Not who's the better wide receiver in general. Who's the more talented guy? Who's the better wide receiver for the Raiders? That's what I want to know. I want you to type D for Doss or type A for Ateman. Okay? Who is the better wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders? If you want to look at it long term, great. If you want to look at it short term, that's fine too. But I want to know, type D for Doss or type A for Ateman. Now, I want to give you guys an A+ because we crossed 20K subscribers, and we did it relatively quickly. And I appreciate everyone who watches the show. I was talking with my guys last night at the bar. They're like, Mitch, you just popped up out of nowhere, and you're already at 20K subscribers. So it's pretty cool what we were able to do here. I appreciate the nation. I appreciate the love that you guys have shown me, but I want to continue to grow this show. So let's get to 22K by August 20th, okay? So by my time Hard Knocks comes out, episode 3, I want to be at 22K. My bosses like the fact that I drank 7 beers on last show because I got the 700 likes. So if you want me to keep doing fun stuff like that, if you want me to keep doing Raiders Reports on YouTube and Facebook, let's get to 22K subscribers on YouTube. As you can see, I need a little bit over 1,000. Let's talk about another player that's on the roster bubble, Anthony Rush, the UDFA out of UAB. The dude's been playing well. He's just a giant human being who just clogs up running lanes, which is what I absolutely want and need out of a defensive tackle. Also, Victor Four said that Rush is blasting his way up the Raiders' defensive tackle depth chart. Now, week 2 versus the Cardinals, he had 2 tackles, 1 solo tackle. And remember, defensive tackles a lot of times don't always light up the stat sheet, but I'm telling you right now that he was lighting people up because he's just such a big freaking man. Week 1 versus the Rams is kind of when he had his breakout party, the 3 tackles. But the reason why he became popular is because everyone was like, who the heck is number 60 and why is he so big? Why is this man playing with a bunch of elementary school kids? Like, Anthony Rush at 6'5", 350 pounds is a lot bigger. And I think if Anthony Rush would have played on last year's Raiders team, he makes the team. But the defensive line of the Raiders this year, with the additions of a Cleveland Ferrell, with Mo Hurst in during his second year, P.J. Hall, I expect to hopefully take a step up. I know Gruden likes Ethan Westbrooks. Max Crosby is a solid player. Benson Mayock is getting his time in there. Josh Morrow. I think if it wasn't for the depth at the Raiders' defensive line this year compared to last year, Rush makes the team easily. But with that extra depth, he's a bubble player. I actually hope that Rush makes the team. I think it's a good addition for the Raiders if he does, because anytime you can add somebody who's this big, that really, really helps your run ability. And somebody's going to have to double team him, right? Like, sure, like Rush at UAB's got a cool story, but he's a really talented player. And overall, if it was up to me, I'd be typing my 4 because I'd be keeping Anthony Rush, which is exactly why. Guess what I'm going to ask you? You know it. Here we go. Will Anthony Rush make the team? Type 4 for Believe It, baby, or type 0 for Tuck Rule, Tuck That. I'll look down here in the comments section. I'm going to let the votes roll in here a little bit. So for those of you that are watching me here on YouTube, for those of you that are watching me on Facebook, so Mark says, I see Mark, I see Johnny Cross. Johnny, what's up, my man? If you guys want to get your comments in for the Raiders on whether or not you think they're going to keep Anthony Rush, I'd appreciate that. I'll go to YouTube. I'm seeing a bunch of 4s. Jose says 0, so no for him. JD says practice squad. That's fair, that's fair. Daniel, see, my only fear with a player like Rush is if he goes to the practice squad, some other team's going to sweep in and take him up because he's been playing pretty well. I'm seeing a lot of 4s on YouTube. I'm seeing Danny Easton says 4, Antonio says 4, Chad Hayberger on Facebook says 0, Bo Hilbin says 4, Bill J. Smith says 4, and then right now my top fan, shout out, he's got that nice little diamond, Ernie Lopez, my top fan on Facebook. If you guys want to become my top fan on Facebook, like, share, comment. More you do that, you can get an extra special shout out. Ernie Lopez, much love to you, my man. So here are the first 3 Raiders that are on that roster bubble. First one, UDFA, Keelan Doss, wide receiver. Second player, Marcell Ateman, the second-year receiver out of Oklahoma State. He played well for the Raiders last year. It's just a lot more competition at the wide receiver position. And then UDFA, and then we got Anthony Rush, defensive tackle out of UAB. He was a UDFA, but he ended up going to the Lions, and then ultimately the Lions didn't want to sign him. It's a cool story, actually. Anthony Rush's agent told the Lions, you have 20 minutes to sign my client. And then the Lions were like, and then the Raiders were like, yes, please, we'll take him. Let's go to number 4 player here. It's Nick Nelson. If you watched rumors today, you'll know that there were some rumors buzzing around Nick Nelson and whether or not he's going to be able to make the team. So Victor Four, he believes that Nelson is going to get cut, and Vic basically just says it literally doesn't make sense for the Raiders to keep Nick Nelson. Now, it is only Nick Nelson's second year, but if the coaches like Isaiah Johnson more, plus with the Nick Nelson struggles, like Nick Nelson got absolutely torched in the game against the Cardinals for that long touchdown catch by Sherfield. And then when you look at the overall talent that this Raiders secondary has, like, I understand they gave up 26 points against the Cardinals, but one of the reasons why the Raiders have been playing so well in the preseason is because of this secondary. Like, you gave up 3 points, 190 total yards against the Rams, and then your first team defense really just shut down the Cardinals. Like, it was 26-0, and then the Raiders are like, okay, we'll get some of these other players in there a little bit. The Raiders' first team defense has actually looked very, very solid. So if Victor Four doesn't think Nelson's going to make the team and says it doesn't make sense, I'm kind of going to jump on board with that. So will the Raiders cut Nick Nelson. Remember, it is his second year. They drafted him in the 4th round out of Wisconsin last year. There's just more talent. I think this is the prime example of, I understand that these players got time last year. But the Raiders, between you and I think we can both agree, all of us agree, that they're just a lot more talented this year. So think about that. Type C for cut or type K for keep. I see JoJo says Calvin Klein. In fact, I actually have Calvin Klein underwear on if anyone cares. Daniel says K. Manny says C. Danielo says K. We got a bunch of C's for cut. Even got a yup cut from Kevin Hayes with the scissors emoji. I appreciate it. Chad saying cut. Danny Easton saying cut. Bill saying cut. Jesse saying cut. And my man Ernie Lopez is also saying cut. So will the Raiders cut Nick Nelson? C for cut, K for keep. And if you're wondering why am I giving these people shout outs, it's because I'm live right now Sunday. And I'm going to be going live way more often, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you turn on those notifications so you know exactly when I go live. Also, I want people who watch my show to come party with me. I went out last night and got to grab awesome beers, got a few drinks, and had a really dope time with my man Danny, with Johnny, and a bunch of people at Ron's place here in Dallas, Texas. But I understand not everyone lives in Dallas. So here's the thing. I'm trying to branch out, and I'm trying to meet a whole bunch of new people. I will be in Oakland, okay? Put this in your calendar, the Black Hole Kickoff Party. And if you want to go, this is what you got to do. You got to go to theblackhole.com, okay? See that link below? Theblackhole.com/kickoff. Use my promo, Mitch. That's all you got to type in. If you can't remember it, I'm really going to question what kind of relationship we actually have here. So go to theblackhole.com/kickoff. Use my promo code Mitch for 25% off tickets. If anybody gets tickets to this event and you need a hotel to stay at, I can save you $100. Okay? You just got to show me that you're getting tickets to the event, and I can save you $100 on a hotel. Theblackhole.com/kickoff. Use the promo Mitch for 25% off. Let's talk about player number 5 here, Luke Willson. Listed as the number 4 tight end on the official team depth chart. So this is his first year with the Raiders. His first few years, he's played with the Seahawks. Then in 2018, he played with the Lions. The overall question, though, is how many tight ends will the Raiders keep? Now, if it was up to me, I love me some tight ends, and I'd keep as many as possible. But then when we're talking about actually football tight ends, it's a little bit different, right? So Paul Butler, I don't really see him making it on the team. Maybe because he unfollowed me on Twitter. But hey, who says what? Luke Willson, he's on the bubble, okay? That's why he's on this show. He's on the bubble. Now, this list was made a week ago because Victor Ford came out and said that the Raiders realistically are probably only going to keep 3 tight ends. So Derek Carrier more for special teams. Foster Moreau, they drafted in the 4th round out of LSU. Then Darren Waller, their tight end 1, who I expect to have a pretty solid season. But what exactly can you get out of Luke Willson, right? He's got 1 catch for 4 yards this preseason. I think he is an okay player. Sure, he's the highest rated Raider in terms of tight ends on Madden. But what does that actually matter? Not too much. So Luke Willson, to me, he's not the best receiver. He's not the best blocker out of our tight ends. And he's not the best special teamer. It's kind of why I think, personally, Luke Willson might be on the outside looking in. But he is the most experienced. So that experience might be able to keep him on the team. So will Luke Willson make the Raiders team? Type L for yes or type 2 L's for no. I figured, what's the way I can get the most L's possible on screen? And I don't think there's a better way to do it than with Luke Willson. 2 L's in your last name. I mean, if anything, that's a double L. So will Luke Willson make the team? Type Y for yes. Oh my God. Type L for yes or type 2 L's for no. I'm taking an L on that one. It's on me. Will Luke Willson make the team? Type L for yes or type LL for no. Jesse says LL. Scott on Facebook says L. Carlos Escobar says LL. Chad Heibarger says LL. And then also Salvatore says LL. And Daniel says cut him. So appreciate you guys weighing in on there. Now I got another question. We're typing L's. Now we're typing J. I don't know what an LJ is, but I probably wouldn't Google it. But if you just want a jersey, type J in the comments section below. And so I've been telling you guys, if you want a jersey, if you want an AB, you want a Derek Carr, I can get you guys any jersey you want. So just type J. So Bob Ellis, I see you. Joshua Scott, Steven Hertz, Lenny, Daniello, Don, Johnny, Steve, Jose. Who else wants a jersey? Jesse P. I see that you guys are commenting that you want a jersey. go to chatsports.com/Raiders. Use my promo code GoRaiders. Take a screenshot that you signed up and put down $50, and I get you any Raiders jersey you want. And if you don't believe me, guess what? Go on my Twitter, go on my Instagram. I've put out pictures of people getting this Raiders jersey hookup. So go out, get it, chatsports.com/Raiders. Next player that I want to talk about, last guy on the show, Te'von Coney, okay? UDFA out of Notre Dame. Between you and me, I was super surprised that this kid did not get drafted. Sure, he's got that average athleticism, size, but he's a grinder. Here's the thing, though. The linebackers for the Raiders, I think they've looked pretty solid in the preseason. So week 2 versus the Cardinals, he had 3 tackles, 2 solo tackles. Again, it's the preseason. Don't look too much into numbers simply because these guys aren't on the field for too long. I say that because he only had 1 tackle versus the Rams. The more important thing to note is when these players are playing, and Coney sometimes is on the field with, I'll say, like the second string team, and he's sometimes on the field in the second half. So for me, I like Coney. He's a talented linebacker. But we got Whitehead. We got Burfict. You know, we got Brandon Marshall. You're also going to be dealing with Kambinda, Marcell Lee, Morrow. All these players that Coney is essentially going to have to end up jumping over. Like Chad Heibarger says, Coney is a stud. Man, like, I'm with you. I think Coney is a solid player, and I think the Raiders would actually be kind of dumb to let him go because I think he's going to be a solid linebacker in the next, 2 years. I really, really, truly believe that. So, Chad, you and I, we're on the same page here. So, will Coney make the team? Yep or nah? I want you to comment up below, okay? Will Coney make the team? Type yep or type nah. So, we asked a lot of questions, so I couldn't just do the Y for yes, N for no thing. So, will Coney make the team? All right? UDFA out of Notre Dame, yep or nah. So let's go through one more time the 6 Raiders that are on the roster bubble that need to play well against the Packers week 3 of the preseason game known as the dress rehearsal. You got Keelan Doss, Marcell Ateman, Anthony Rush. Then my last 3 players, Nick Nelson, cornerback, Luke Willson, and then Te'von Coney, UDFA out of Notre Dame. Those are the 6 players on the roster bubble that need, let me say it again, that need to play better versus the Packers week 3. Week 3 is known as the dress rehearsal game, and it's a very, very important game, which is exactly why I hope that you guys come and join my watch party, okay? So will you watch the Raiders versus Packers? Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors, and look at this. I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.